You can cut it with a handsaw. Drop it in a bucket of water and it floats. It weighs about a fifth of a standard cinder block. It does not burn. It does not melt. It does not release toxic smoke. Put a sustained 2,000-degree flame against a wall built from this material, and 4 hours later, the wall is still standing. No structural failure, no combustion. The wall is just standing there. This material has been used to build homes across Europe for nearly a century. Entire countries, Germany, Sweden, the United Kingdom, have built millions of residential structures from it. It is not experimental. It is not fringe. In the United States, it is in commercial buildings, hospitals, schools. It is not banned. And then there are the fires. Entire neighborhoods in California, Oregon, and Colorado have been erased in a matter of hours. Wood frame homes, the standard American residential structure, burn fast. They burn completely, and once a dually fire crowns into the canopy, the outcome is nearly predetermined. Hundreds of thousands of homes in designated wildland-urban interface zones are built from the same combustible material that the fire is feeding on. The house and the disaster are made for each other. After some of those fires, there was one structure still standing. Aerial photography shows it clearly. A concrete shell surrounded by bare slabs, its roofline intact, its neighbors entirely gone. The debris line stops at one wall. Everything beyond it is ash. The structure survived not because of luck, not because of wind direction, but because of what it was made of. The code did not change. If this video makes you angry, good, stay with us. Subscribe, because this channel exists to find exactly these stories, and this one is far from over. So the obvious question is, if this material exists, if it is already in use in this country, if the test results are real and documented, why isn't every home in a fire zone built from it? The answer most people reach for is that it must be too expensive, or too difficult to build with, or that it has some hidden flaw that explains why American home builders have never adopted it. Those are reasonable assumptions. They are also mostly wrong. The material is called autoclaved aerated concrete, or AAC. Its cost per square foot runs higher than wood frame in most American markets. That is real, but that gap narrows significantly when you account for labor, insulation, and the fact that wood frame homes in fire zones carry insurance premiums, rebuilding costs, and loss histories that AAC simply does not. When you price a fire, not the insurance payout, but the actual replacement cost of a home and everything in it, the cost gap between wood and AC tends to collapse. The material is not the barrier, something else is. To understand what that something else is, you have to go back about 100 years, to Sweden. In the early 1920s, a Swedish architect and inventor named Johan Axel Eriksson was working on a problem. Timber was scarce after the war, construction was expanding, and the industry needed a structural material that was lighter, faster to work with, and more fire-resistant than the options available. Eriksson developed a process that mixed sand, lime, cement, and a small amount of aluminum powder, then cured the result under high heat and steam pressure, a process called autoclaving. The aluminum reacted with the other compounds to produce millions of tiny hydrogen gas bubbles throughout the material. Those bubbles expanded, and then the autoclaving process locked them in place permanently. The result was a solid, load-bearing block that was roughly 80% air by volume. That sounds like a weakness. It is not. It is the reason the material works. Here is the physics. When a wildfire front reaches a structure, it is delivering radiant heat, direct flame contact, and burning embers simultaneously. A wood frame wall absorbs and transmits that heat, reaches ignition temperature, and contributes fuel to the fire. An AAC wall does the opposite. The air pockets throughout the block act as a thermal barrier. The heat moves through the material extremely slowly. The chemistry of the block provides no organic fuel. There is nothing to ignite. Standard fire rating tests using ASTM protocols have documented that AAC wall assemblies withstand sustained heat of 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit for 4 hours without structural failure. The wall does not contribute to the fire. It simply refuses to participate. Here is where credibility requires honesty, and this is the part many advocates skip. An AAC wall will survive the fire front, but most homes in wildfire events do not fail at the wall. They fail at the openings. Embers, burning fragments carried ahead of the fire by wind, enter structures through attic vents, soffit gaps, under eaves, through windows, and through utility penetrations. A house can have AAC walls and still ignite from the inside out, because a single burning ember found its way into an unprotected attic vent. A genuinely fire-resistant home requires the full envelope: non-combustible cladding, ember-resistant vent covers, tempered or fire-rated glazing, and Class A roofing. AAC is the right wall, it is not the whole solution. Anyone selling you a single material answer to wildfire risk is selling you an incomplete answer. Keep that in mind. Now, with that concession on the table, here is why the wall still matters, and why the wall specifically is what the system has decided to make difficult. The International Residential Code is the model building code adopted, in some version, by nearly every jurisdiction in the United States. It establishes what is called a prescriptive pathway, a list of pre-approved structural systems that builders can use without additional engineering review. That is built around wood frame construction. Wood frame is the default. It is the path of least resistance, lowest cost to permit, and fastest to build. If you want to build with AAC in a residential project in most American jurisdictions, you cannot use the prescriptive pathway. You need an engineered design, a licensed structural engineer, a third-party evaluation, documentation that satisfies a local building official who may never have reviewed an AAC project in their career. That process adds time, cost, and uncertainty that most residential builders are not willing to absorb. The American Wood Council, the trade association and lobbying arm of the wood products industry, operates a large code advocacy operation with staff dedicated to maintaining the prescriptive pathway and ensuring that wood frame construction retains its default status in the residential code. The IRC doesn't say AAC is dangerous. It says AAC requires extra work. For most builders, those are functionally the same thing. The system isn't broken. It is working exactly as designed. If you believe safer homes shouldn't require a legal workaround to build, subscribe and stay with this channel. Now look at what this has produced in practice. The Camp Fire burned through Paradise, California in November of 2018. Approximately 19,000 structures were destroyed. Aerial imagery and post-fire engineering surveys documented isolated surviving structures, concrete construction buildings, standing intact in fields of ash, surrounded by the bare foundations of wood frame homes that had burned to nothing. The roof lines were still there. The walls were still there. The neighbors' slabs were bare. Lahaina burned in August of 2023. The same pattern appeared. Combustible construction gone. Isolated masonry survivors standing. In January of 2025, wildfires moved through Pacific Palisades and Altadena. Architect Michael Kovac's concrete home in the Palisades survived while neighboring wood frame structures were erased. A documented case that received significant press coverage and placed the question directly in front of California's policymakers. The house was still standing. The neighbors' slabs were bare. And here is the part that compounds the injury. The surviving structure then faces the system from the other side. Appraisers cannot value it accurately because there are no comparable sales in the neighborhood. The comparable sales all burned down. Insurance carriers, using actuarial models built on wood frame loss histories, have no established risk category for a structure with this performance profile. The home survived the fire. It did not survive the paperwork. What has to happen before the code changes? We already know the answer. We just keep not liking it. So what can you actually do right now? Start here. AAC is legal in most US jurisdictions via the engineered design pathway. It is not banned, and in states like Florida, Texas, and Arizona there are documented residential precedents you can reference. The first step is finding a structural engineer who has worked with the material on residential projects. The second is checking your jurisdiction's W designation. CAL FIRE's VAPSH maps and FEMA's risk overlay tools are publicly available and free to use. The third is asking your builder or contractor directly whether they have ever priced an AAC structure, and if not, why not. If you are in an existing wood frame home in a WI zone and a full rebuild is not on the table, the concession from earlier becomes your action plan. The openings are where homes fail. Ember-resistant vent covers, tempered glazing, and Class A roofing will do more to protect an existing structure than almost anything else you can do, short of rebuilding. Address the openings first. If you want a breakdown of the legal pathways for AAC residential construction by state, the cost comparison framework, and the specific questions to ask a structural engineer before you build, comment the word firewall below, and we will send it to you directly. Now pull back to the beginning. The material exists, the test results are real, the structures are standing. Every fire season, we watch neighborhoods erase in hours, and then we rebuild them in wood, and then we act surprised when the next fire comes. The code was written by committees with strong representation from an industry that profits from the status quo. The prescriptive pathway rewards the cheapest material at time of construction, not the most durable material over a lifetime. And the families in fire zones pay the difference. In lost homes, in uninsurable properties, in the peculiar American ritual of rebuilding the same house, in the same way, in the same place, and calling it recovery. This channel exists to find the gap between what works and what you are allowed to build. If you want to keep closing that gap, subscribe. Because this is one of many stories just like it. The fires keep winning because we keep letting them play by the same rules.